Gardner, Kansas, I'm going to call the Gardner City Council meeting to order. Will you please rise with me if you may for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Well, we have a pretty light agenda today. Some of our folks have been on vacation, and obviously things slow down a little bit at the beginning of summer, so we've got 4 new business items. We're going to run through this pretty quick. We're going to start with public comments. Members of the public are welcome to use this time to make comments about city matters or items on the agenda that are not part of a public hearing. If you wish to come forward, there's only a couple of ground rules. The first one is there's a time clock on my right, your left. Please, if you wish to come forward, understand you have a 5-minute time limit. The city clerk is keeping clock. And then the other piece of that is no profanity and no personal attacks. With that being said, if you come forward, please state your name and address for the record. The podium is open. Hello, Jennifer.
Hello. You really need to have
To
this
the side a little bit there.
short. Oh, I can't see them over here. I'll just move around. Jennifer Smith, 648 South Oak Street. This is a year since 2017, 2016, when you asked me to come and speak on the issues of fireworks and those with neurological and sensory issues. So, first of all, fantastic weekend. Kudos to the city staff, Public Works, Park and Rec, the Gardner Chamber for outstanding events, and all the businesses that stayed open extra hours and did what they could to accommodate all the guests that were coming into town. So my background is, God, I hate this. My background is tourism industry, so this was a huge win for Gardner and the community. But there's a but. There's accountability. As many times as I tried to figure out what to write, there was only one word that came to my mind, was accountability. And you as a city council are accountable for every citizen in this town. There are citizens with neurological disabilities, sensory issues, TBIs, PTSD, veterans that love fireworks. But do they love them since last Sunday to last night, sometimes 13 hours a day? Not so much. There are also neurotypical individuals that don't have any disability, any mental health issues, that also love fireworks but don't like them every day since last Sunday. These are days that were not supposed to be utilized to be shot off. There are moments where there were glimpses of people coming together and having a good time, and because of the pandemic, I think it was a great opportunity, fantastic opportunity. But sometimes those opportunities had issues. And I know the Gardner PD was stretched thinner than thin slice of pizza, huh, James? So kudos to them for doing everything they possibly could, and the other municipalities that came in and helped out. But you all have to think, the good stuff that happened, there's also consequences. And this town comes together and can belittle each other so bad on the social network. It was sad, very sad to see what good things happen and then how they tear people down. And you, Mr. Mayor, as a leader, have to do something many times about that. Bring us together, but also educate those on the opportunities. My 78-year-old neighbor was on his roof cleaning off the debris. He just had surgery several months ago. His wife just got through cancer, breast and colon cancer. Nobody should be on the roof cleaning off firework debris. My neighbors came over and cleaned off my yard because they shot off stuff at my house. but that was okay. They accommodated the issue. My father is in his last stages of Alzheimer's. And it's kind of funny now when you think about it, in a sad way, was Friday night when they were shooting off fireworks. There was a loud mortar, very illegal. I was giving him his night pills, and he almost bit my finger off. You think about it now, it's kind of funny, but at the moment it wasn't funny because it scared him so much. So there are lots of things turning circles here that we as a community have to think about, and there has to be consequences. Jay's gonna be upset with me because at 11:47 on Sunday night, I went out. And he's like, I don't care. I went out and asked the neighbors 2 streets behind me to stop. Please stop. They kind of did. The adults were drinking adult beverages, and the children, 9 or 10 years old, were the ones shooting off the very large fireworks. Who's accountable for that? So, once again, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer or anything, but I want you to understand all the good things that happen. There are fantastic things that happen every day here in Gardner. We have to look at the accountability of what happens to our citizens too. So, thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Anyone else? Our typical process is to address those council updates. I think you're aware of that, Jennifer.
I'm aware of that.
Yes, we will be discussing this at that time. All right, seeing no one else, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there any member of the council who wishes to remove an item from the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion on the consent agenda. Second. Motion Deaton, second Baldwin, that we approve the consent agenda. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Consent agenda passes. There's nothing on planning and zoning committee recommendations or old business. New business item number 1, consider a resolution providing the authority to award a contract with the Kansas Department of Transportation for the Moonlight Road Safe Routes to School project. Chief Engineer Tim McEldowney, good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. So as you said, this is in regards to the Moonlight Safe Routes to School project. We're filling in trails and sidewalks in the vicinity of the Moonlight Elementary School. This is a KDOT administered project. So they advertised and then opened bids in June. They received 3 bids with Mega KC being the low bidder. KDOT is now recommending that they be awarded the contract to construct the project. So along with that, so the total amount is $481,000. KDOT's maximum match on this was $252,000, which they will use all of that, which leaves the remaining $229,000 for the city. So at this point, KDOT is just asking that the city commit to spending the funds on the project so they can move forward and award the contract to Mega.
Great, thank you very much, Tim. Any public comments on new business item number 1? See none. Any questions from council? And this is to provide improvements to the sidewalks around Moonlight Elementary. I know there's one that's on the east side of Moonlight. That's just a real
Yeah, it goes basically
mess.
from almost up to Warren all the way down to White.
Okay, great. All right, if I see no other questions, I'll entertain a motion on new business item number 1.
Second.
Motion from Gorsuch, second Deaton, that we adopt resolution number 2086. Resolution providing the authority to award a contract and commit city funds with KDOT for the Moonlight Safe Routes to School project in the amount of $229,000. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Winters,
Yes.
Councilmember Gorsuch,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Councilmember Baldwin,
Yes.
Councilmember Deaton,
Yes.
All right. New business item number 1, resolution 20086 passes. New business item number 2, consider adopting a resolution authorizing the public sale of certain general obligation bonds in the city of Gardner, Kansas. Finance Director Matt Wolf. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I consider this item more of a housekeeping item. If you remember, on June 21st, council adopted resolution number 2085. essentially authorizing the offer of public sale of general obligation bonds. Essentially what the new resolution is doing is it's recommending that we change the sale date. The original sale date was July 19th. We're recommending that we change it to August 2nd. And the reason for that is S&P Global Ratings indicated that they are experiencing a high volume of work. So we're trying to accommodate their schedule.
All right, thank you, Matt. Appreciate it. A public comment on new business item number 2. Seeing none, any questions from Matt on the change of date?
Matt, I just had one curious question, and I apologize for not emailing in advance. Is there any benefit to us from a financial impact to moving that date, or is it pretty well locked in?
It's not really a financial impact, it's about maintaining a good relationship with S&P.
Okay.
Is there going to be a ratings call before the bond issue, as we all
Yes, every time we have any kind of debt issue, we have a ratings call with S&P.
have? I know Tyler's on the call. Is there anything in his opinion or in the opinion of staff that would give us any kind of an indication as to how the S&P's call is going to go?
Based on our continued development, like we were a little bit worried when we slowed down a little bit last year, and it's been a little bit slow this year, but we believe strongly from what we hear coming down from CD that we're going to be returning back to normal, and I think that sends a good message to S&P. That plus, if we maintain strong reserves, that'll help secure our bond rating going forward.
Strong revenue growth, from what I understand as well, so that might give
Yes.
us a little bit of a leg up on this. All right, thank you, appreciate that. Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion on resolution number 2087.
So moved.
Second. Motion Grigorczyk, second Winters, that we adopt resolution number 2087, a resolution authorizing the offer for public sale of certain general obligation bonds of the city of Gardner, Kansas, and repealing resolution number 2085 of the city. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Grigorczyk,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Councilmember Baldwin,
Yes.
Councilmember Deaton,
Yes.
Councilmember Winters,
Yes. Resolution 2087 passes. Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Matt. All right, and new business item number 3. Consider adopting an ordinance amending chapter 5.20.090 of the municipal code of the city pertaining to original package sales of alcoholic liquor. Sharon Rose, City Clerk.
Hi, good evening. This is essentially a housekeeping item. The state legislature passed House Bill 2137 in May, amending Kansas liquor laws. So this bill includes authorizing Sunday sales for retail liquor stores and cereal malt beverage retailers to begin as early as 9 a.m. on Sundays in cities or countries where Sunday sales have been authorized. Sunday sales have been authorized in Gardner since November of 2004. So the city must adopt an ordinance authorizing Sunday sales before noon in order to comply with this new change. The ordinance is subject to a 60-day waiting period during which a petition for an election can be filed.
Okay. Great, thank you. Any public comments on new business item number 3? Seeing none, any questions for Sharon or staff on this?
Actually more for legal counsel. Where are we more restrictive than the state? So like, does the state restrict Thanksgiving Day?
So like at this moment before this is amended, so currently we don't authorize it before noon on Sundays.
Right.
So the state now allows it 9, and then the state also took out 3 of the 4 days where it was prohibited, which is Independence Day, Memorial Day, Thanksgiving maybe. Easter is still
Labor Day was one, right?
Labor Day, yeah, it's maybe not.
And Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and Thanksgiving. So every day, Sunday now except Easter, you're allowed to sell cereal malt beverage and alcoholic liquor
So
pursuant to state statute.
Is there anything that we are more restricted than state statute at this,
I
upon passing this?
don't believe so.
Okay.
This is conformance, and actually, in order to, we would be out of compliance if it did not pass pending an election.
Right.
Correct?
Right.
I was just looking at if we were more restrictive, if there was any, looking at taking the other things off the table.
Yeah, so this prevents us from being more restrictive.
Perfect.
I just had one comment. Maybe it's more funny than anything, but strategic priority, quality of life. I thought that was interesting. We're talking about quality of life and alcohol in the same breath. No pun intended. Carry on.
Well, I understand that. But we can't run afoul of the state statute either, so
It has nothing to do with state statute, just.
I understand. We have to put a strategic priority on something here, okay?
Carry on, Mayor.
Yes, sir. Anything else? All right, I will entertain a motion on ordinance 2709.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Deaton, second Baldwin, that we adopt ordinance number 2709, an ordinance amending chapter 5.20.090 of the municipal code of the city of Gardner, Kansas, entitled Opening and Closing Hours and Dates of Sale. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Roberts.
Yes.
Councilmember Baldwin.
Yes.
Councilmember Deaton.
Yes.
Councilmember Winters.
Yes.
Councilmember Gaborsik.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2709 passes. New business item number 4, consider adopting an ordinance amending chapter 10.15.050 of the municipal code of the city of Gardner, Kansas pertaining to truck route violations. Deputy City Administrator Amy Nasta, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. At the June 21st City Council meeting, Council provided unanimous consent for staff to draft an ordinance updating the truck fines to $200, and this is basically a housekeeping item fulfilling that request.
Great, thank you very much. Any public comment on new business item number 4? I thought you'd have a comment.
Of course I do. And same with everyone on South Oak Street. Yes, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
All right, any questions for Amy or staff?
I have one item. I just appreciate Jim and Chief Belcher working on this and making sure that, you know, it's legitimate. I think the best way to get somebody's attention is to get in their back pocket. We'll find out, you know, proofs in the pudding, I guess, but I'm glad to champion this and have the support of council to get it where it is today, so thank you.
It's an important step. It's one step, but it's an important. We appreciate that. All right. Thank you, staff and leadership for that. Yes.
This is related, but maybe down the road. I'm perfectly fine with how it's written, but have we considered doing something where you get your first warning, the next one's now 200, and then it just escalates quickly, like exponentially. Next one's 1,000, right? Because, you know, you don't want to get hit with, you don't want to go straight to 1,000 on the first one and somebody have no warning. But if you got habitual offenders, right, $200 to a trucking company that's making thousands of dollars on a run, they might go big deal. So, you know, have we considered having an upward trajectory on habitual offenders?
To answer your question, Councilman, no, we didn't explore that. I think that would probably be a legal question that we would need to figure out if we're able to do that, you know, going forward. Because I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I think
If we could do that. I don't know, Spencer, if you're able to comment or not.
Yeah, I don't know. Right now, I can't tell you yes or no. In theory, great idea. There are some issues with, especially it's actual exponential growth. And I know you didn't mean literally it has to be exponential, but yeah, as you start to make them basically a continuing violation that snowballs, you can run into some problems. But we can certainly look into that and work with you all and find if there is a way to increase them in some mathematical way. Happy to do it.
The biggest issue, I think, is that if you're a small independent trucker, that could really hurt you. But if you're a larger firm, like a Schneider or something like that, you know, it's no big deal even at those larger amounts. So we've got to think about how we structure that to not create an unequal and undue burden
That's why you have
on
your
individuals.
steps,
Yep.
you know, so that somebody can learn, you know, that small business can still learn quickly.
Logistically, though, I mean, keeping track of who's had what fines and not, would that be difficult to do?
We could do that through court.
I mean, I'm just thinking, you know, you get your first DUI, right? Ramps up on the second one, that third one's even worse, right? You know, same kind of thinking.
If we were to move forward with something like that, that would have to be a prosecutor that would be able to determine it. It's more like trying to confirm somebody's on their second, third, or fourth DUI. They would have to be able to look at the past history to be able to make that climb in the fine if we're able to do that.
Is there a consensus amongst the members
I would like to see how this works out before we get ahead of our skis. I don't think the suggestion is bad, I just think we are to let it flesh out a little bit.
And I'm perfectly fine with doing that. I'm just throwing out an idea that, and this might be applicable to other fines, not just trucks, right? Across the board question, yes.
Okay, yes? Tom?
No, I agree with
Okay.
Councilman Kubarsi.
Excellent. So we'll just let this sit for a while, marinate, and then we'll see where it goes from here. I will say that GPD has been really stepping up the enforcement on certain truck routes from the standpoint of both truck axle and weight restrictions. So I really do appreciate that. I know the folks in those neighborhoods are as well. So keep up the good work, and I know it's been a bit of a struggle, especially since 191st got closed and now it's back open again. So that should alleviate a lot of that problem now that 188 is open to 191st. So. All right. I'll entertain a motion then on ordinance 2710.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Gorsuch, second Baldwin, that we adopted ordinance 2710, an ordinance amending chapter 10.15.050 of the municipal code of the city of Gardner, Kansas, entitled Violation Penalty. City Clerk.
Councilmember Baldwin,
Yes.
Councilmember Deaton,
Yes.
Councilmember Winters,
Yes.
Councilmember Gorsick,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Ordinance 2710 passes. That is the end of regular business. 7:20 in the evening. All right, let's move on to council updates. Does staff have anything for council? I'm going to start with Public Works, Mr. McEldowney, because you guys have been pretty busy lately.
Well, you might have noticed there are a few more orange barrels on the roads these days. So today, Waverly Road was closed, basically from Madison north to Fountain. So the contractor will have until the beginning of school to get that section of road completed, and he'll start working south from there. And then, of course, we also opened up 188th Street, and part of that process was also to close half the bridge. We're just allowing southbound traffic so that repairs can be made at the approaches to the bridge. And so and then KDOT at the time is making some improvements, repairs to the bridge, and then when they get done with one half, we'll shift over the traffic to the other half, and they'll do that work. And again, this is contractually, they're set to be done by August 11th, which is the start of school with this phase of the work.
When they're done, and I know are they flagging out there right now? Are they diminishing the traffic flow to one lane?
No, I don't believe they're flagging. It's
Okay,
just
so they
with
won't be flagging.
signs. Yeah.
They'll be doing that patch and update and repair work then while traffic's still running through that area?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. The question I had was, how are we going to, or when are we going to get the lights up over there? Because I know that they've already hung lights on the north side of that interchange. There were lights hung up on the south side, but then they got removed. Do we know what the situation is going to be with that?
Those won't be turned on until towards the end of the project. Once we get all the widening done and all the lanes established and those things, then we'll turn all the signals on, including the one at 188th Street.
And that's going to happen towards the end of the year?
Yeah, the contract runs out in early December. So, I mean, I would expect maybe a month ahead of that, signals would be up and running.
So it'll be after the school year starts, so we're still going to have some bus issues from Nike in the meantime.
Yes, but the bridge will at least be open, both lanes will be open by the time school starts.
Okay, great, thank you. Yes?
Well, we got you on the mic. I didn't want to pull it from the consent, but I was curious on the assessing of the roads. So we did that, what about, it's been 5 years, 6 years now?
Yeah, we did
Staff
it.
did that?
We did it the very first time. Staff went out and actually walked the roads and performed ratings.
Will that be, will we repeat this again, like in another 5 or 6 years? Something like that?
I think we'll evaluate and see. I think we need to do a better job of just upgrading our ratings on our own annually. But you know, these guys do such a comprehensive and thorough investigation. I think periodically it'll be good to have them, use their lasers, go out there and collect the data for us, just to make sure we're really on track with where we want to be.
Is this information going to be fed into micropaver then as part of our management of the?
Yeah,
that
so they collect all the data, and they'll actually create the pavement index, which is essentially rating each street. That will be, then we can put that information into paver and all our other, cost data and type of work that we're going to be doing in the future, and it will lay that out for us with future cost as well.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Dave Knopick, you had a busy week too with everything going on.
Well, the good news was I came back from vacation. So I am back.
That was good news?
Yeah, well, for some it's good news, for others it may not be. Couple things, EDAC, the Economic Development Advisory Committee, this meeting this month will be on July 21st, not the typical Wednesday that we've had it. But we do have a presentation coming in from the downtown planning consultant. They're going to go over the downtown plan with that group. The public is invited to sit in on that if they desire to do so. You may notice on the staffing side of things, we do have a building inspector that will be leaving us. His last day will be July 16th, roughly a couple weeks from now. That's Mick Chapman. After being here a number of years, he is moving out to the northwest with family. So he's moving into Washington near the Portland area. And we do have a building inspector on staff that is riding along with him currently, a new one, Charles Kraft. He was recently hired, and we're trying to get some overlap time so that we can introduce him in with contractors and things like that. So he gets used to the culture of how we do business around here in Gardner with the various projects. You'll also notice on our staff, we've left a planner position open currently, but I do have 2 interns that we're working. So if you think one full-time planner is equivalent to 2 interns, that's kind of what I'm running through for the summer months, is to use those interns to get us through a number of the planning activities and things that we need to get done. So we keep moving forward. We have a couple of applications coming in for the July Planning Commission, obviously one on the Bergdorf property. You had an annexation item on that a couple weeks ago. So we're moving forward with that. That application came in, and also we have an application in for the it's called the Treadway Apartments, which is the Prairie Trace area. So that's Travis's project there.
Okay, great. And pass our regards along to Mick. I mean, he's going to be tough to replace. He's one of our best inspectors. So
yeah, he's very knowledgeable. It is going to be tough to replace him. He has volunteered to keep his cell phone open for staff to call him periodically.
That's dangerous.
I know it is. He did also get another job out there fairly quickly, which is a testament to his knowledge. And I think that's the big thing, is the experience and knowledge base that he's offered, not just to the community, but also to the other staff here. It's been very helpful on a number of fronts.
And that's what separates our people from a lot of other municipalities. They really care and want to, serve as, travel knowledge for our existing staff. So again, pass our regards along. We're going to miss them. Thank you. Jason Bruce, Parks and Rec. Oh, well. You've been busy too.
Yes, we
Very busy.
obviously had our Independence Day festival this last Sunday. City staff, all the departments really chipped in. Obviously, Parks and Rec oversees the whole thing and is there on site. And I want to recognize Amy Kraft and the rest of the staff. It was a great show, great weather finally, and also I know PD and Fire District 1 were taxed this weekend, but
We're going to get to that soon.
even though the air show was over, they came out in full support and helped us out. I also want to thank the school district for working with us on the overflow parking lot at Pioneer, because we absolutely needed it this year with the crowd size. But all in all, it was great. So I think everybody had a great time, and having the Blue Angels and the air show was just an icing on the cake. So
Absolutely. I think I can speak for everyone on this dais by saying tremendous job. Best Independence Day festival ever. Biggest crowds, best artists. We know Dylan Scott was going to hit it out of the park, but Cafe Anderson was amazing, and we hope we can get it back. I kind of talked to them already to see if they can get in. They said, have your people call our people. So you know how that is. But he's very enthusiastic about it.
it was great.
Miles Garcia, Utilities.
Yeah, one thing, Hillsdale expansion, they achieved substantial completion on June 24th. The peak demand was 4.1 the day before. So both plants are in operation, and so far no hiccups and everything is going pretty good.
Excellent. Glad to hear that.
That's all I have.
All right, thanks. Jay Belcher, you can breathe now.
Yeah.
A little bit.
First of all, I want to make sure to acknowledge our men and women of the police department and what they did this weekend. The amount of time that they had to work and the minimal time that they had to recuperate was really something. We had several of them, we found out later, that were sick and throwing up and refused to tell us because they knew that they were needed and what they were doing. So a big shout out to our men and women. They were just sort of amazing this weekend. Second, fireworks. Ms. Smith came up and spoke about fireworks. One of the things that she mentioned education. One thing that we did with social media blasts leading up to fireworks was we did a lot of education social blasts that we had put out about the ordinance, about the do's, about the don'ts, in an attempt to help, educate citizens on, what they can do, what they can't do, when they can do it, when they can't do it. And a lot of it comes down to, she also used another word of accountability. We are vastly outnumbered with fireworks. We do the best we can, but we also have to rely on our citizens doing the right things as well to help us out. Obviously, fireworks was a huge deal because if you looked at the skyline, it was filled, and it was filled numerous nights. But we will evaluate some of the things that we did, and we will try to make some changes. I'm not going to make excuses for anything, but I'm also, not sorry about what we did because we took enforcement action on issues that we came across. So those are just a couple of things I wanted to mention about fireworks from my perspective.
There was a specific issue that I wanted to address with regard to fireworks, and that is people shooting off fireworks on private lots. I know that the folks at New Life Community Church, for example, took action on their own and barricaded their parking lot, but there were other parking lots that were being used, specifically the old Price Chopper lot. And there was an active fireworks stand right next to that, on that lot. And there were at least 3 calls that came directly to me, and then I asked them to contact the non-emergency number of individuals who were shooting off fireworks. One actually tipped over and went into the tent. I don't know about you, but that person needed to be cited. And I know they were probably gone by the time folks got over that. I think the sheriffs actually responded.
I know something similar happened several years ago at Olathe, and they had a huge fire at their fireworks stand on the west side over by where I believe the Great Mall might have even been in the parking lot of the Great Mall, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's incredibly dangerous. That is criminal negligence in my assessment, and we need to probably have a lot more heavy enforcement on folks that are shooting off, even if it's just a patrol car coming by and seeing somebody lighting up in a lot right next to a fireworks stand. If they're within 200 feet of a fireworks stand, it's criminal negligence.
The problem we run into, Mayor, and I know you're aware of this, is with the other calls for service that we have that night, our people are basically observing this stuff as they're going to other calls.
Yeah,
and unfortunately, and I'm not trying to say that fireworks are not a high priority call, because it is. But when it comes to us going and dealing with a fireworks issue or going and dealing with a active disturbance, we're going to the disturbance.
Sure.
But I understand your point.
I guess the question is, how can we, and again, this is a tough nut to crack. I totally understand, Chief, but in that case, if that firework would have gone off in that stand and set off other fireworks, we're talking about, man, a significant fire
Yes, that would not have been a summons or a citation.
No,
That would have
no,
been a criminal investigation on something
Absolutely.
like that.
So,
And I'm not aware, I don't even know, it wasn't brought up to me, so I don't even know if we got a call for service on that or not.
there was a call
Or
for
if we
service.
got there and no one was there. I mean,
There
that
was a
happens
call.
quite a bit with
Yeah.
fireworks.
There was a call for service, I believe. Johnson County Sheriff's Dispatch responded, and I think they sent sheriff's deputies out because I think others were on calls. And they basically said, well, we can't do anything unless, and I'm like, no, you can do something. You can cite them. All right, they can cite them in that case. It's in their jurisdiction, and get them off that parking lot because it is a clear and present hazard. Now, maybe it's just a communication that we need to make with Johnson County to kind of figure out exactly how we're going to make that determination, but that's something that absolutely we cannot tolerate. I mean, and it's destroying, and it's jeopardizing private property, so. I mean, we could talk about that and how we can address that in the future. That's definitely something we need to look at.
Yeah, normally we have much more people out on the 4th of
Air
July.
show weekend, I know.
Right, this was the week, we knew this was coming, we
Yep.
did the best that we could, and again, I'm not gonna make excuses if,
Oh, no,
you
no, no, I'm not.
respond to things
Yeah.
appropriately, or, we knew this weekend was coming, we did the best we could, but we reevaluate what we did, and we'll tweak it and make some changes and do some different things next year, to make it a
Absolutely.
little bit better, so.
Nope, and as I said, I'm gonna say that and also say, you guys did amazing work. You guys worked your butts off. It's a matter of, we had a squeeze because of the air show and traffic control, and then also, obviously, the normal course of a Saturday night, and that also contributed to things.
I tell you, it was amazing seeing all the people on Moonlight Road and 56 corridor that were out there watching the air show Saturday and Sunday. It was really pretty cool to see all those people, and I know there was a lot of businesses out there that did really, really
Yeah,
well
they did.
because of all the people that were in. So
Walmart opened their parking lot. They
Yeah.
didn't have to do that, but they opened their parking
Yeah.
lot. Brilliant move, guys. Brilliant move. I mean, I can't imagine how many lawn chairs and coolers and ice bags they sold, but they were incredibly busy. So, all right, thank you again. City Clerk, you have anything for us?
So it was recently asked of me how early candidates can place their electoral or campaign signs in their yards. And what we found is that signs can be placed 90 days from the election per our GMC temporary sign code. So that would be around August 2nd that you can start placing your yard signs.
Okay, thank you. Matt Wolf.
Just an update on the budget. Planning another budget meeting or budget presentation on the first meeting in August. At the time, we'll be seeking more direction and policy guidance from council. After we have that final guidance, we can develop the budget draft and publish it online, and we'll work with the public information officer to get that information out to the public so they can review the document before the public hearing. That will be first meeting in September.
Okay, great. Did you have a question? I saw you raise your hand.
Mayor, excuse me.
Yes.
Will council be able to get that presentation in advance, just so
Yes.
that we can try to cut off some of the question and answer? Okay.
Deputy City Administrator.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
All right, thank you, Amy. City Attorney.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Jim, it's yours. What we got?
Finally, I just want to publicly thank Jason and Jay for the work they did this weekend. Great work by your staffs, but it starts with the leadership, and there's a lot of planning that went into this weekend. What people don't see is the troubleshooting that happens during the day. I know several incidents came up, and the public was unaware of all the stuff that had to be done behind the scenes to make this happen. So great work by everybody involved. Thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely. I'll go ahead and let the rest of the council. Do you have anything else for us? Okay, great. I'll have the rest of the council weigh in. Tori Roberts.
Oh, okay. Well, this is going to be repeat, but I wanted to thank everybody, staff-wide, Parks and Rec, police, all the staff. It was a fantastic weekend at Gardner. It was a lot of work, but I mean, it was good for Gardner all around. I was lucky enough to meet Cafe Anderson, and he is spectacular, and if we could get him again, that would be amazing. He stood and signed autographs, I don't know, for,
9 o'clock
Yeah.
now. 9
Yeah.
He was done. He was still taking pictures at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
at night.
And so I was with a group of people and we took a group picture, and then I said, "Can I have a selfie?" He's like, "Well, of course you can. Why didn't you ask already?" I mean, he was just so nice. He didn't have to be that. I mean, he was nice like that to everyone. So great job picking the acts, the entertainment, everything was perfect. I do think, and I think we'll talk about it, I am not anti-fireworks. I like fireworks. I like fireworks. I don't know if we're going to discuss it, maybe the ordinance or maybe the discharge times or whatever. I think that it would be worth a revisit at some point. Just my 2 cents. So
Fair.
That's,
And I think there's going to be an after-action assessment
Okay.
that's going to be happening amongst all the departments to figure out what can or can't.
it just seems like, and I wasn't always involved in all these decisions. Most of this was before I got back on city council. It seems like we went from 0 to 100. Maybe there's a compromise in the middle somewhere. I like the fireworks. I think it's great for the city too. I just think that we could revisit it. I think that's all I have.
Okay, thanks, Jordan. Councilmember Warsick.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks to Gardner Police. Thanks to the sheriffs. Thanks to Fire Department or Joco Fire 1. And even thanks to Kansas Highway Patrol. I went to the air show. I've always loved the Blue Angels, and they put on a great show. And was not at the air show proper. I was off to the south and west side of the runway, but just spectacular. And to Jim's point, there was a lot of things, because I'm listening to the firemen radios, there's a lot of things that the community don't know took place, was handled efficiently and safely, and those citizens, whether they are Gardnerites or out-of-towners or out-of-staters for that matter, they appreciate everybody's service, so thank you, Jim. And it was also good that Johnson County was able to get this squared away, remembering that New Century is a county asset. So I think it's just wonderful to see families and friends. I had families, my in-laws came into town, so it was good to have them, and nobody's wearing masks, and everybody's hugging and high-fiving and yelling and screaming. It was just America at its best, if you will. So, and I, like Tori, am pro-fireworks, but yeah, I think we need to do kind of a post-mortem and just take a look at some of those controllable factors, not necessarily stopping fireworks, and we all have, I think accountability is the word that Jennifer used. We all have accountability. I mean, we were out there sweeping up sidewalks and this, that, and the other at the house that we celebrated at with 4 other families. But again, that's not a comparison. That's just what we did. That, and we know the guy that lives there wouldn't like it. So
It's called common courtesy and respect, I think is.
yeah, those are also 2 good adjectives. So
Yep.
I just think we ought to do a post-mortem, make sure that we understand what the sheriff's interaction was. Obviously, we know what Chief Belcher's team did, and just take a look at it and really look at it from a what, not a who. And then try to understand how we can improve it without diminishing the celebration, because that's what it's about. 245 years in the making and counting, and that's what we want to continue. Outside of that, I wasn't able to make the shindig out at Celebration Park, but I've heard a ton of positive. As soon as I sat down tonight, Tori was all giddy with excitement. But she is an example of the rest of the community. I mean, just tons of people had tons of fun. So thank you to Jason and his team. That's all I had.
Okay, thank you, Councilman, appreciate it. Councilwoman Deaton.
Chief Belcher, thank you guys so much. I know you guys were stretched thin. You did a great job. I know I was worried about traffic flow. My son had to work and he's out of town. I'm telling him leave an hour early, and he's like, Mom, I got to work an hour early because you told me to leave. Like, it was so easy to get in and out of town, and that's a testament to you guys and keeping that up. Jason, same to you. Thank you. I was out at Celebration Park. It was a blast. I also convinced my coworker who was him-hawing, coming out to Gardner. As soon as I got in today, he was like, that exceeded my expectations. It is now gonna be our family tradition to go to Gardner for 4th of July. That was an amazing show put on, and so that's a testament to you guys as well. And then I also had a second thing for your department. I thought it would be fun to watch the air show from the lazy river. I did that on Saturday, watched it from Walmart on Sunday. And, you know, adults driving down the road when the Thunderbirds and the Blue Angels, they're getting distracted. They're driving. Your lifeguards kept their eyes on the water. Every time a jet flew over, I was like very impressed. When it was behind them, they didn't turn and look. And that's a testament to good leadership over at the pool. And when young adults act better than old adults, that says something. So way to go for that team as well. And that was it for me.
Here, here. Council Vice President.
I would also like to echo the same sentiments, but I won't list everybody because I think we all know who they are. I will share one little story as far as talking about the things that happen behind the scenes. Our fireworks are still on a Chinese dock, aren't they?
Last I heard, they were somewhere on a port in California.
Okay, so they're almost here. All right, Labor Day celebration. So evidently, you know, our fireworks didn't make it. Kind of like inventory was down everywhere. Jason figured out how to solve that problem, and you know that's one of the few that we can actually share. So kudos to everybody. Very cool. I'll let Todd go, and then I think, or at least I'm willing to open up conversation on fireworks right now.
Okay, that's fine. We'll hold that. Yes, Council President.
So, thank you. We actually went out during the day until about, I think, right as cafe started. That's kind of when we left. But we enjoyed a lot of the things for the kids out there. I thought the food trucks selection was nice. A lot of different choices, a lot of local choices too. So I appreciate that. And also thank you to New Century staff, Aaron Otto, and the rest of the staff there. They did a great job too. I think they made everyone feel really comfortable. The air show people were really happy to be there. So I think we made a good impression. Absolutely. Fireworks. When do we typically make the decision on the date?
We don't anymore.
So that went to the Citizens Police Advisory Committee meeting. Councilmember Deaton, were you on the staff? Okay.
I was, yeah.
So you can correct me if I'm wrong. We had direction from the governing body several years ago to take that to CPAC to come up with dates that were constant and non-changing for fireworks to be shot off. We did a media blast on that. We had an open forum. We had one citizen show up to have public comments. Then after discussion with the Citizens Police Advisory Committee, it was decided to go with the 3rd, 4th, and 5th every day or every year, and the times from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. constant, so there was no confusion as to when are they legal this year versus last year, when can they be shot off. So that's how the birth of that ordinance came to.
Yeah.
And then we brought that to council, and then the council approved that ordinance.
We had the 4 days originally, and then we went to the 3 days, and then we had to vote on it every year. And I said, let's change this. Right. And then it went to CPAC because nobody liked my idea of changing it every year so that it would work for, basically, like this year, you wouldn't have shot on the 5th. You would have shot on the 2nd, right? You can shoot Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. You get Monday off. Everybody's going to work. Tuesday doesn't have fireworks going on, right? But then that rotates every year. So it's a little bit more confusing. So that's why we sent it to CPAC.
I know some of the things, some of the feedback that we had heard was the length of the sale of fireworks. I'm sorry, but they start selling them on the 28th. They're going to start shooting them off on the 28th. They're going to shoot them off on the 29th, and so on and so forth. I know that was brought up to us several times throughout the last couple of weeks, was the length of the sale. Now that's, not a police department decision, that's a governing body decision, but just that was brought to our attention several times.
But there's a balance on that as well, because fireworks stands won't open if they can only sell for 3 days.
Correct.
I mean, it's
correct.
So because they won't be able to liquidate their inventory in order to be able to make money. So
Actually, we're 1 day shorter than the state allows.
State,
So,
yeah. 7th.
Monday through
By
Sunday.
the state, you can start on the 27th, they can't start till the 28th there because it had to do with something on charter ordinance.
Does the state also allow to the 5th? I thought it was the
No.
27th to the 5th, and we are, so we're 2
We
days.
stop at the 4th. We stop
Yeah.
at midnight at the 4th. And that's another thing that I got a lot of feedback from assorted fireworks stands around town. First of all, I will say they were happier than they've ever been because they basically got rid of all their inventory. I mean, like all of it. Even though the inventory was limited, they got rid of all because of so many people from out of town coming in and buying fireworks. But what they did say is that, shooting off on the 5th is kind of a difficult situation for them because they can't sell on the 5th. They can sell on the other days, but they can't sell on the 5th. And as you probably know, around town, there weren't very many people shooting off on the 5th. It was a very mostly quiet night, at least compared to the other dates that we had.
That was my daytime shoot.
But there was nothing in the evening. I mean, very little. So there's the issue of the dates and times of sale. I mean, we're going to have to evaluate that very carefully because you're right. When we sell, when those stands sell, people are going to shoot them off because, I'll be honest, a lot of people are jerks. And so we need to verify and see whether or not we can make a change, but we can't also not cut the leg out from under those sellers either.
So Mayor, if I could jump in, and I appreciate you lobbying for the fire tents and the folks that sell it.
I'm not lobbying for the fireworks tents. I'm saying that's an economic decision, and even the police chief is agreeing with me on this. So please don't go there.
So with that being said, I guess I want to lobby for the citizens. I mean, we've got to do a postmortem and understand.
Go on.
Thank you. And we have to understand, back to Tori's point, kind of what that balance is. I'm not too worried about whether the economics work out and whether the days are enough. They'll figure that out on their own. But I drove around on Monday, and I mean, the trash in this community is immense. I mean, if we had 10 street sweepers, like the big riders, and 10 folks to drive them, they could drive all day. And that's at our cost, if you will. I mean, I know that we're making sales revenue, don't get me wrong. I know we discussed this years ago, and I think it was half the cost of a cop car.
Yeah.
But I think we really we need to understand methodically from a postmortem perspective and understand what some of the changes that can be made, taking into consideration the community, the trashing,
Yes.
et cetera.
And the community that you're talking about, where the streets are getting dirty, and they are getting dirty because people are being inconsiderate and they're not picking up
agree.
after themselves, and they're not being courteous, and they're not being respectful.
I agree.
Okay?
I agree.
So, thinking about the citizens, you're absolutely right. That is a situation where the citizens, to a great extent, need to be responsible.
I agree with that.
Okay? If the citizens aren't being responsible, then we've got a problem. And we've talked about this for years. I mean, we talked about this 3 years ago when it really got bad.
Yes, sir.
And there were multiple communications that came out, not from the city, but from myself personally, saying, hey guys, if you can't be responsible, this might get taken away. Okay? And maybe that's where that ends up going, but I'm not interested necessarily in doing that because I think it's a much more unifying type of action to have fireworks in our city. It's a distinctiveness that we possess in this city that many other cities in this area don't have. People feel like they can have a good time and not be, stomped on by government. I think that's a good thing. But again, with those rights come responsibilities. And I think what you're talking about is taking personal responsibility for your actions.
Absolutely.
I did see a social media post that we put out, the city put out, to remind people to clean up. My neighborhood's people didn't clean up after themselves. Maybe when I go home tonight, maybe they've cleaned up today. Maybe it was too late for them to clean up. I'm hoping that's the case. I'm also worried a little bit because when it does rain, that's all gonna go into our
Storm sewer.
storm sewers.
Yep.
And that could create other problems. I just think the education hopefully will get people to clean up after themselves.
Well, just take 10
Yeah.
minutes with a long broom and, you know, put that stuff into a pile, get a dustpan, and throw it in your garbage. That's what you got to do. That's
But
what we did.
I mean, social media did get out there, and maybe, I mean, I know people should know to clean up after themselves, but maybe that helped, and just continue to educate people.
There were several posts. They went out multiple times, but let's go through everything that's been said so far, right? Realistically, we're probably not shortening the dates of sale, right? Fireworks tents, that's what they need to make their money. And if Gardnerites know that they have the ability to shoot fireworks and we're not open for half the day, so they're just going to buy them elsewhere. So, I mean, we can debate that, but realistically, I don't think that's probably changing much. The dates we could revisit as far as what days they are of the year, right? 3, 4, 5 versus 1, 2, 3 versus the dynamic rolling thing I had, whatever. Again, that doesn't change that people have to adhere to whatever they are.
Exactly.
Okay, so I don't think that changes anything. If you know, we've had 4 days, we've done 3 days. It could be 20 days, it could be 1 day, and you're still going to have the outliers that just do whatever the heck they want to do. It didn't help that our police department was extremely stretched thin, and I can tell you so after the air show on Sunday, I went out to Celebration, and as soon as I got there, the fire department and the police department is trying to find a lost child's parents in the crowd, okay? So there's more pressing needs going on, and when I left and came home in my neighborhood, there's the police out in front of a couple of homes in a cul-de-sac and walking around the back because there was a report of a couple of men fighting and supposedly a gun involved. So more important than somebody shooting off a firework. But all of that comes down to those people not doing dumb things. As I tell my kids all the time, don't do dumb things, right? So it is a personal responsibility thing. We can't stop everybody. At the end of the day, it's about being courteous. It's about people paying attention to the dates. We can educate as much as we want. I'm not saying do less, do more. But we can't stop every one of them. And it's overwhelming from the number of good comments and the enjoyment and just looking at the sky that this is well received versus not received. I understand that does hit a small population, not well, but I don't think this body has a whole lot of options to correct this. I think this is on people not drinking and being dumb. I think this is for too much drinking. I mean, now that they can buy at 9 o'clock, I guess they could start earlier and be done earlier. You know, just paying attention and doing what they need to do. You know, because there's two sides to every coin as far as like the trash, right? Some people might have drove by and saw that there was a ton of trash out on, let's say, the 5th morning, right? Well, how do you know that's not because I left it out on my driveway all night to make sure that it's not still lit before I put it in my trash? And then I pick it up that morning. We don't know. So I think we have our hands tied a little bit, and I just urge the public to do their best to enjoy responsibly, just like I would if I was talking to them about a beer or anything else. Do the best you can, and hopefully people will do better as time goes on.
Do you think 11 o'clock's too late? Especially if, I mean, I know not everybody works a traditional Monday through Friday work week. I understand that. But do you think on days that are perceived a traditional work day that 11 o'clock is too late? Could we adjust those times, or how would that work?
I did, and that's why I came up with my rolling scheme,
Yeah.
right? The 4th moves, right? So I was always trying to gear it towards, you know, the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you get your Monday off, whatever would allow you to get as much shooting in without affecting the worker after you've had this long weekend and you get all sorts
And I know that other people don't work. There's a lot of people that don't work on Monday through Friday, but 11 o'clock, and I call it a school night, seemed kind of late to me, just personally.
Yeah, well, the issue is that daylight hours are restricted because, nighttime hours are restricted because of the fact that the sun doesn't go down until
I get it.
8:30, 9 o'clock. So, but that's
9:30.
So I will comment here because I was on the CPAC when we looked at this ordinance, and we had one public comment, and that was, whatever you do, keep it consistent. Because into this discussion looking at the rolling. If it's on a Wednesday, what do we do? If it's on a Thursday, if it's on a Friday, what do we do? And our one public comment was, please keep it consistent. Because the year before, I believe, we had allowed it on the weekend, but the 4th was like a Tuesday. Not allowed it on Monday, and then allowed it again on Tuesday. And they're like, it's just so confusing. And then you've got the trash from the weekend, and then no trash, and then trash again. And so that was the response that we got on the CPAC, was to just keep it consistent. And that's why we wanted the days to have the same hours, so that it's not, okay, well, is tonight the 10 o'clock night or is tonight the 11 o'clock night? And that was the biggest discussion that we had when the CPAC discussed this ordinance, was consistency. So
Because before the ordinance, we did have 10 o'clock on weeknights. And, you know, on the 4th, you could shoot till midnight. Midnight, yeah.
Well, I can comment briefly here to Councilmember Baldwin's comments is 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, those who don't care, don't care, you know, what time it is. As an officer who worked here when it was illegal, I can tell you from my perspective, there's no difference between what's going on now and what was going on 10 years ago. The reason it's so popular now is because there's more information out there from social media. The fireworks were ridiculous 10 years ago when it was illegal here. I'm being honest. And I can remember writing tickets to people, and one particular comes to mind. You could write me another ticket, take my stuff, I'm going right down and buying more and coming back and shooting them off. And it just goes to what Councilmember Baldwin said, is that there's just some people out there that aren't thinking about others and being respectful and respecting, you know, their neighbors and ordinance and stuff like that.
But I will say this, especially on Friday night, Saturday night, particularly Saturday night. I was driving through the neighborhoods, you know, just to see how things were going. And 10 minutes before 11 o'clock, it was full steam ahead. By 11:15, it almost, obviously there's those outliers, but it had almost ceased across the neighborhoods that I went through.
Yeah, we've had traditional hotspots in town, and we know where those traditional hotspots are. And, you know, we do our best to try to get to them, you know, after 11 o'clock, but I would agree with you. Where I lived in my old neighborhood, which is an older neighborhood, and I remember last year, 11:15, 11:20, it was very, very scarce what was going off. And to be honest, it kind of shocked me. You know, I live on the west side now, and I don't hear as much out there as we did when I lived in town. But yes, I would agree with you, Mayor.
Go ahead. I just had two comments. One, the dates that we chose, for some reason, I don't understand the 5th. If we're gonna do 3 days, I'd rather do the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Because it seems like, okay, it's 4th of July, boom, everything, finale, boom. And then the next day, more fireworks. It just seems kind of, I'd rather lead up to it and be done on the 4th. That's one point. And the other point was, if you did have a lot of people asking about the length of fireworks sales, I don't know that cutting a day or two is really going to affect the fireworks stands actually that much. I mean, I think we'll still have 10 fireworks stands here, and I think they'll probably still sell nearly as much, if not more, in a shorter amount of time. So that's just my thoughts on that. But I'd be in favor of moving it before the 4th and ending on the 4th, personally. So that's what I have.
Okay. Yes.
Not that I want to tell people to call in their neighbor, but I would be, you know how I love my data. I would love to know how many of the people that are shooting after, I mean, you know, 11:05, people lost track of time, whatever. And it does dampen drastically after 11. But, you know, looking at the call log that you sent us, the stats for the first night were ridiculous, right? It goes, most of your complaints complaints were on the first night, and then it tapers off. Even on the 3, 4, 5 are less than the first night. And I've got to wonder, are these the people that are just wanting to break the rules, or is this an education problem? And so that's where I'd love to know if, you know, the neighbor could say, "Nah, this guy's just doing it just because," or, "Oh no, I went over and told him, and then he stopped." You know, I'd love to have that interaction with your neighbors to maybe that would improve some of it, and then we could find out it is just the bad apples that we can't do much about, and if that gets to be a small enough number, maybe we can ticket a bunch of them.
Yeah, and you know, Councilman, I can tell you that we had one such interaction and it turned into a battery, where a fight that ensued because we had someone trying to talk and it turned, you know.
Drinking.
Right, of course, yeah. Because we can't.
But that's just one example of something negative, not trying to point out the
No,
negatives.
I understand.
Because I think we heard from Ms. Smith, who said that she went over and talked to some of her neighbors about shooting off when it was almost midnight. So I think there's a lot of examples and stuff out there of good and bad, but when it boils down to it, it's respect and following, you know, the ordinance, and that's where we're going to see the problem with whether it's the second, third, fourth, fifth, first, second, third, fourth. I wish there was an answer. I wish I had it. I just don't know that it's out there.
Because it's pretty easy to predict next year. The first is on a Friday, the second's on a Saturday. We're going to get tons of complaints. Because people gather on weekends.
Do we need to take a look at an ordinance change that to second, third, fourth? Is that something that folks on this dais would be?
I would like the second, third, and fourth. If we're gonna have 3 days, I'd rather those 3 days than the fifth.
Is that something we want to send back to the CPAC to reevaluate, do a postmortem?
I think that would be. I think we need to do that anyway.
I like to see more people, whether it be at CPAC, and when I say people, I mean citizens, or more people than Jennifer Smith at the council meeting, for and against. You're not going to hurt my feelings. It's hard for me to spend my hard-earned money on it. But anyway, I'd like to hear from the citizens, and I would challenge the citizens listening tonight and those that were on social media with for and against opinions. I welcome them both. I would go back to what Dr. Winters said, and that's also take a look at the window of sale. I can't legislate accountability. I can't legislate relationships with your neighbors. Like, you know, Mayor Shute and I, if I was being a knucklehead, he'd probably feel comfortable coming over and say, "Hey, Randy." I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry, my watch is slow," you know, whatever. But, you know, relationships are important to those that you live around. I mean, gosh, some folks, they leave work, and this is pre-COVID, but they leave work and they go straight to work and they come straight home, and before they're out of the car, the garage door is already closed. They don't even know who lives across the street from them, perhaps.
Do you think, like we did the survey for the Parks Master Plan, do you think there could be a fireworks survey that could be out there?
Well, we did a fireworks survey on whether or not people
I know.
enjoyed it.
Right. But I don't know if there could be something with more questions, just not do you enjoy it? What times do you think? I mean, could we do something like that?
Well, I mean, that's what it was, included times
Right.
and
Well, when was
number
that?
of days.
And I know we did one of those, but was that, how many years ago?
well, it would have been 5 when we started it. Or maybe
I
it
don't
was
know.
4. Maybe it was
Would it
4.
be good to have another survey out there to get more feedback? Because I think it's going to be hard to get people to come to the meetings.
What if
It's going to
let
be.
me just throw it out there. I think that I would be in favor of the survey idea, but what about if we decided to take one of the CPAC meetings and just have a town hall to discuss fireworks, and that would also give you guys some informed feedback as well from the citizens as to what they would like to see. I think that might be a better way to go, and it would also give the CPAC folks some information that they could immediately work on.
But we'd have to strike while the iron's hot.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't do it, and I'm not saying that you're alluding to this, Mayor, but we can't do it in September.
No.
We need to do it later this month or early in August.
The difference between a town hall and survey is you do a town hall, you're going to have people that are on
Both sides.
well, I don't think so. I think you're going to have more people here that object to them because they're legal now. If they weren't legal, then you'd have more people that were favor of them. So you're gonna get a skewed viewpoint because the people that get what they want, they're not gonna be as fervent as the people that are against them. I think a survey, you'll get a lot broader.
And I think you're gonna get more participation.
Yes.
Because only a certain handful of people, whether it's just a CPAC meeting or it's a town hall, you're gonna get the same small amount of people. You're not gonna get, I mean, I don't think,
Those surveys would be anonymous?
that's,
Yes.
I think it was,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
last survey was.
They use
yeah.
SurveyMonkey.
I'd
And-
agree
and
with.
we could do it.
I'd agree with Jim.
Unless, we could do it by the end of the month.
Survey would be great, but I guess, what do we ask on the survey?
Probably the same type of thing, hours of day, number of days, did you participate, just things like that.
Could we make sure to add dates of sale as well?
I think Jennifer has.
Yeah.
Oh.
Mayor, would you open the mic to,
I'd be happy, I didn't realize, Jennifer, that you wanted to come talk, so.
Can I come talk?
If you wanted to speak, you
Because I just
can
want to
do
raise
that.
my hand.
I'll give you I did not see your hand, I apologize.
No, I don't know if I could or not, because I know.
That's fine.
So,
We can.
there actually honestly can include the Public Works ADA committee, because ADA committee is not necessarily just a physical disability.
Correct.
So you've got this large community with those with disabilities, neurological. You forget the older community, and not many have computers, and not many have cell phones that know this thing. So you've got to also include the elderly. We've got the nursing homes, we've got the hospital, we've got a lot of different things. And people want people to celebrate, but it's, once again, the accountability. It's not just having one committee decide everything.
Sure.
You've got to have multiple irons. And there also can be volunteer committees as well to go around and do these educations and different communities and different things. There's a lot of opportunities to make this successful and accommodate everyone. And also, people haven't talked about the animals. My neighbor's dogs were drugged from Sunday to today. So, yeah.
Jennifer.
Hi.
While you're up, we're all talking about it.
Yeah.
So, you mentioned having volunteers for going out to get information or educate. That's a great idea. What else do you think from an accountability, right? You've thought about this, you've been up here before. Do you have any suggestions for accountability?
Yeah, and it's not going to be liked. I think
Anything on the table?
I honestly take their fireworks away. We have to have permits to build a porch. We have to have permits to put in a toilet. Citizens need to pay for a permit to shoot off fireworks, and they have a little sign in their yard, yellow tag, something. It glows in the dark, says they can shoot off fireworks. So we kind of have a register of who's able to shoot off fireworks, and not do it in July. Do it, at the beginning of the year. And if people are paying their bills, they can sign up that way, and just different ways so we can kind of keep track. So PD knows, all right, well, this is where we've got this going. I'm just trying to problem solve, because you're actually having people move out of Gardner because of this now. And people moving here. People also leaving Missouri to come over and spend the day and shoot up communities and then leave. So there's a lot of good and bad with this. But we also have to protect those that need protecting. And how do we do that? We have to problem solve. I was lucky that the people, I didn't know them from Adam, to go and ask them to stop. They did keep shooting off, but it could have been bad. I think it's also just getting a group of volunteers that are educated by the policing committee, by the police. We're grouped together, we are identified, and it's going out. And also at these firework booths, somebody is there saying, listen, you got to make sure that this is when you can shoot them off, and this is how you do it. There's always those disclaimers, and people are going to ignore the disclaimers too.
Yeah, I'll mention real quick, Jennifer, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
You're fine.
Every fireworks stand in the city required to post the ordinance. They're required to post the times, legal times, and dates for sale as well as shooting off. So that's and now I don't know if they're actually going out there and saying to every single customer, this is what
Right.
you have to do. But they are posting it at every stand.
I didn't see it.
What he's fired.
I mean, I know mine. I know when I was working at fireworks stand, it was posted at that fireworks stand, and yeah, that doesn't mean people are going to follow that.
Exactly, because a lot of them don't see it, but it should be posted.
You know, you could do a marketing campaign and with the high school and have the kids come up with a video or something and give those kids some scholarship money, something like that, to come up with some kind of campaign and have it that it's going and people are getting the idea of it. You can make it fun and you can make it serious at the same time.
Well, there's some good ideas.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, it's been a healthy conversation. I think we need to continue it, look at what Jim suggested on the Survey Monkey in early August. I don't know that we need to formulate the questions, but I think we could add to what was there 4 or 5 years ago, and really push, you know, from the public information officer perspective, really push that message and get the uptick that we want.
I want to make sure I'm clear on direction. Nothing from the CPAC. We're going to see what the survey does.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what
At
I'm
first.
It-
But there's going to be an after-action analysis anyway.
Yeah,
so
CPAC wants to discuss it. That's
But, yeah. And then the other piece of that is there will probably be coming out of this some sort of an overview of the ordinance to see whether or not we need to make some modifications to dates, whether it's sale days or discharge dates.
Yeah, because I was really hoping tonight would be a fuller house on this particular subject for,
I think a lot of people are
Everybody's
still trying to recover from the weekend.
well, to Dr. Todd's point, Friday fireworks is tough to recover from. Excuse me, Monday fireworks is tough.
Yeah. So.
I think, you know, you weren't going to see people come because most people were happy with the fireworks, and for the number of people that usually show up, this is about the right percentage for the number of complainers that we would have. And I'm not calling you a complainer, Jennifer. Just
We have different people
You were
for
against
different
it.
issues. So.
Our survey
so-
might suggest that we're good with what our current ordinance and everything is. It's just, it seems like after 5 years, it would be good to revisit.
There's nothing wrong with
See what's out there, see the opinions of everybody, and go from there.
And to be absolutely fair, I don't think that Jennifer is interested in banning fireworks. I think that there's a lot of folks who just would like to see it managed better, and I think that they acknowledge that it's been on balance, a good thing, but we need to work on getting things a little bit more control, and if we can, we're going to try.
I do have to say, Dylan Scott mentioned the fireworks during his concert.
Oh, yeah, he
mentioned
did.
it. He said he couldn't believe what he could see while he was performing. It was pretty cool, actually.
I actually was talking to people back in the, and I was going to do this at the end, but I'll just mention it now. I was actually talking to people towards the back of the crowd, and they were like had one ear to Dylan Scott and one eye to what was going on behind, and they were absolutely shocked. They couldn't believe it, how amazing that was. So I said, you didn't expect to get 2 fireworks shows tonight, did you? No, we didn't. But a lot of them said, we're going to make this an annual thing. We really want to keep coming back. This was amazing. So again, kudos to Parks and Rec and police and fire and everybody else who made it possible. You guys just hit it out. So. Anyone else? So we have pretty much a route forward. Okay. I kind of started my thunder, my speech already. Again, you guys did an amazing job, and the other thing that was cool was seeing the economic development opportunities that are coming out of the air show. So I got a lot of personal inquiries from people, from bankers, from others that were coming in to attend the show. Some of them were attorneys, like for large firms, coming in and saying, "Well, we didn't even realize this was down here in Gardner. We didn't realize that this was, that you guys were so active and things were happening things were happening so quickly down here." He said, "We would love to be a part of your community. What can we do? When can we meet to start to cultivate those relationships?" And I'm like, wow, that tells you everything you need to know. I mean, I don't know how much we invested in the air show from the standpoint of time and man hours. I know it was significant, but one of those development opportunities that comes to Gardner provides amenities and entertainment options, for example, for our citizens. You know, makes it worthwhile. And I know you guys worked your butts off.
We're submitting an invoice for reimbursement.
I think we'll have some sales tax revenue that'll cover that.
No,
To the
air
air
to the
show.
air
Oh, the
show.
air
Let's-
show.
let's be
You're
clear.
right. You're right. The air show. Yes.
Yeah.
So they said that they would be covering those expenses.
On the day of the event, there were still
Right.
hours and hours dedicated before.
Absolutely.
and planning,
Yes.
so.
Yes.
But
They're
you got
covering
cost recovery
fire,
on the
they're
day.
covering Gardner Police, they're
Right.
covering sheriffs, they're covering all the agencies.
Highway patrol.
Right.
Yep.
For those days.
Which is typical.
Correct.
Absolutely.
A line item expense.
Yeah. But just all sorts of positive feedback from all sorts of people, and it wasn't just investors and developers and things like that, but also from just normal people who were absolutely shocked as to how creative community Gardner is. And we also got some exposure on Fox News. Fox News National, when they cut to their person on the remote over at New Century, they tagged it Gardner, Kansas, and you know that's international exposure through American Forces Network. I mean, how can you can't pay for that kind of advertisement?
And it was good advertisement, I might add.
Absolutely, it was. So I'll say that job well done. Biggest weekend in the history of our city. It's not even close, and we've got something to build on. Big shoes to fill there, Mr. Bruce. You have to figure out what you're going to do next year.
We'll start working on it next week.
Never ends, right?
Might I suggest drones?
We still have that outside. Do we still have that?
They might
outstanding
work in the
balance?
summer.
In the summer we could do it.
Oh, my Lanta.
Did you get any
Alright.
drone footage of the concert or anything? Or?
We actually did
Yeah.
with our Parks and Rec drone, and we kind of use it to check parking as well. So Nick got some great shots and video from that night, and it was a beautiful sunset on top of that too. So
Do you
Yeah.
have an estimation of the crowd out there?
I'm not very good with that stuff. I can say it was bigger than 2019, just based off of parking.
Much bigger.
And I would shoot for anywhere from 7 to 8, roughly. So it was a great crowd, and finally got some good weather. So
I know that entire berm was filled all the way to the parking lot at Prairie Ridge, or Pioneer Ridge. I'm sorry. I've never seen that before. It's never been like that, and I know that the crowd going back was almost to the ball fields. So
Yeah, from the front you couldn't see the back, and then
Exactly.
they were up on the south side berm.
Yeah.
Which usually nobody's up on that. They're down lower, so
No.
it was a lot.
I think much larger. I think it would be probably closer to 10, but it was definitely a huge crowd.
How's the grass?
needs a little
Yeah,
bit of
that's
work.
about the grass.
Needs a little bit of work.
Well, but you gotta consider, right? At country concert, down in front, they don't even do a proper mosh pit. They just stand there and dance. I mean, there wasn't even mud. I don't know what they're doing.
I'll be honest. I think the worst part of the grass issues was the tire treads. There were a lot of
Oh, absolutely.
vehicles that went across that.
It was a lot of heavy equipment this year,
Yep.
for sure. And we had to forklift in. So
And then the air show sold out both days, 20,000 tickets, I believe.
No, the number that I heard was almost 27,000 tickets punched on Saturday. We estimated we probably had a crowd size around town watching of 10 to 12 on Saturday. And then I heard that Sunday was 30% less.
Yeah, we
Which
heard
doesn't
today was-
surprise me because it's 4th of July. It's a Sunday, so that might have had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, the fire department said 25,000 on Saturday that they thought were there at a time, and 17,000 on Sunday.
Still, those numbers are great.
Yeah.
That's right at about 20 on average, not counting the secondary as Chief Belcher spoke of, or your group, or
Oh, yeah, we had,
I was with, or anybody else that was,
our work had Family
Not
Day.
there, so-
We had probably 800 people there on Saturday in our parking lot.
you know.
Because
So-
everybody could bring people. There was no limit. Cooked hot dogs and
That's cool.
did all that stuff, yeah.
Yep. And then I actually had a chance to briefly speak with Assistant Chief over at the Fire District. And he said that there were no fire reports that came out of this week. They had one situation where there was a small brush fire, but no property damage. That was great to hear. Great to hear.
Thousands of people is the point.
Mhm.
Pretty amazing.
Yes, absolutely. All right, well, with that being said, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion from Morse, second Deeden, that we adjourn. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, any abstentions? We are adjourned.